Shopaholic on Honeymoon by Sophie Kinsella. It's Dial Press, New York. Copyright 2014 by Mad Hen Media Works, LLP. Published in the U.S. by the Dial Press, an imprint of Random House. This book contains an excerpt from Love Your Life by Sophie Kinsella. This excerpt has been set for this edition only and may not reflect the final content of the forthcoming edition. Ebook ISBN 9780812988109. Cover design and illustration by Keith Hayes. It's an iBook, by the way. Dear reader, in the series of Shopaholic books featuring Becky and Luke Brandon, there's a rather large time gap between Shopaholic Ties the Knot and Shopaholic and Sister, during which they are on honeymoon. It is my great pleasure to share with you an episode from their honeymoon adventures as a little extra treat. I hope you enjoy it. Sophie Kinsella. Venice. Okay, don't panic. Don't panic. The water taxi isn't going to sink. We'll just have to rearrange our packages. Venetian water taxis must be used to a bit of shopping, surely. What the hell is this? Luke is sweating as he manhandles our last purchase into the water taxi, a massive bundle of bubble wrap and corrugated cardboard and tape. I look at him indignantly. How can he ask, what's this? It's our set of 12 Murano glass goblets, I say. You were there when we chose them. All the different colors, remember? Weren't you concentrating? Right. Luke looks at the huge parcel again. Did we have to buy 12 glass goblets? They're Murano glass, I repeat patiently. We're in Venice, Luke. Everyone buys Murano glass in Venice. It's practically the law. But we bought some Murano glass, he points out, when we were actually on Murano yesterday. The dish, remember? I'm silent for a moment. I know he bought a dish on Murano, but what's a tiny little dish compared to 12 amazing goblets? I'm already imagining all the dinner parties we'll throw, using the goblets for aperitifs. We'll have our dining room totally Venetian. People will say, have you seen the Brandon's Venetian goblets? Everyone needs goblets, I say at last. Come on, sit down and enjoy the sunshine. Luke makes his way past all our bags and lifts a hand to the water taxi driver. Scusi, he says, finito. As we move off down the canal, I lean back, put on my shades, and beam at Luke. We're having the perfect honeymoon. No, the uber-perfect honeymoon. To be honest, we needed it. Our whole wedding situation turned into a bit of a saga, and we've both been really tense. In fact, at one point, I actually thought we might both have nervous breakdowns or heart attacks. Parentheses, or some kind of horrible stressy skin complaint, which would have been the worst. Close parentheses. Anyway. That all seems ages ago now. We set off last week from Oxshott and spent a week in Rome, then flew on to Venice. We've been here for 2 days and already I'm completely used to traveling about on canals. In fact, I don't know why we don't use the Thames more when we're in London. Why don't we have gondolas and water taxis whizzing about all the time? And look at the way they're all dressed so smartly in matching stripy tops and boaters. Why don't London taxi drivers wear matching costumes? You'd think the mayor would have thought of that. In fact, I might write him a letter about it. Luke, when we get back to London, I think you should commute to work by boat, I say firmly. It makes total sense, and it's probably greener too. Maybe we could buy a boat even. Luke turns to look at me. His face is silhouetted against the backdrop of an amazing Venetian building with crumbling shutters, and I can't quite read his expression. Darling, are you going to be like this all the way around the world? He says at last. What? When we get to Sri Lanka, are you going to tell me I should really start commuting by elephant? No. When we get to the Arctic, are you going to want to buy a ski-doo? No, I say, immediately wondering what a ski-doo is and how much they cost. Anyway, we're not going to the Arctic. Glad to hear it. I squeeze his hand and smile at him. I'm in charge of our itinerary, and I haven't divulged it yet, except that we are going around the world. I want to surprise him as we go along. Also, I want to stay flexible. Maybe we'll want to spend longer in one place, leave out another, think of somewhere completely new. Perhaps we should go to the Arctic. I've always wanted to see penguins. Or are they in the Antarctic? Could we do both? Anyway, the point is, we've got a year to fill. Just the thought of it makes me feel exhilarated. We're free. Luke has temporarily handed over his company, Brandon Communications, to his old friend Michael. We have no commitments, so we don't need to be on some rigid schedule. We're not tourists, we're travelers. It takes 2 journeys to struggle into our hotel with all the packages, and the receptionist watches us with growing concern. She's a dark-haired girl with luscious dimples and has already become my new best friend after a slight hair-related emergency I had on the first day. Francis, it turns out you can buy frizzies in Venice if you know where to look, but the proportion is 1 bottle of frizzies to 55,000 Venetian carnival masks. They might want to look at that, close parentheses. You'd like to ship your purchases? She comes out from behind her desk and looks dubiously at the package of goblets. Would you like us to arrange it? Yes, please, I beam at her. I'd already thought of this solution in the glass shop. We don't need to struggle around the world with all our mementos. We'll just send them home. Won't it be fun when we get home and open everything we bought? I turn to Luke. It'll be like Christmas. Yes, Luke looks a little doubtful. Becky, we must keep track of everything we send back. Of course we will, I say, a bit impatiently. I'll remember everything. Luke has such a way of inventing problems that don't exist. Come on, I tug at his hand. Let's go have a cup of coffee and decide where to go next. Our hotel was once a palazzo and has a beautiful courtyard where you can sit and have cappuccinos and look at everyone's outfits. Plus the coffee is delicious, so I'd be quite happy to sit here for a while and just chill. But Luke has already got his guidebook out and is riffling through the pages. This is the only tiny difference between Luke and me. He likes reading about buildings and exhibits and history, whereas I only have to read the words, built in 1755, the church was originally... and I fall asleep. Parentheses, which is quite handy on planes as it happens, close parentheses. So I was thinking about going to the Peggy Guggenheim, he says cautiously. It's supposed to be spectacular, but if you'd rather not... Why would I rather not? I say, puzzled. Well, he says after a pause, the Guggenheim has history for you, doesn't it? What? I nearly spit out my coffee. I'm so offended. How can he bring that up? Okay, so I did have a slight issue over the Guggenheim Museum in New York a while ago, but we're married now. This is our honeymoon. Everyone knows that when you get married, the slate is wiped clean, and neither party should refer to any unfortunate incidents in the past, either Guggenheim-related or non-Guggenheim-related. I'd love to go to the Guggenheim, I say haughtily. I'm actually developing quite an interest in art. In fact, I got talking to some artists yesterday while you were paying the restaurant bill. Which is true. They were Americans over here to study. They were standing at their easels in the square, sketching a church, and they all looked really cool, and one of them had the cutest little dog called Beanie. Oh, Luke seems taken aback. I didn't know. I was actually thinking I might study art in my spare time, I add for good measure. Maybe do a fine arts degree. I thought you were going to study pasta making? I stare at Luke blankly for a moment before I suddenly remember saying that in Rome. I was so inspired by the scrummy ravioli. Well, I'll do both evening classes when I'm not doing yoga. Yoga is the other art I'm determined to learn on this holiday.